For years, I thought success was just a matter of time. I worked hard, followed the rules, and stayed in my lane. But one day, I had a painful realization. Success had been avoiding me all along, and I was the reason why. Growing up, I didn't realize I had a habit that was quietly shaping my entire life. Every time I was given more responsibility, whether it was at home, in school, or later at work, I had the same reaction. I didn't argue. I didn't complain out loud. But deep inside, I whined. I resented the extra effort and wished I didn't have to do it. I remember coming home from school, seeing my friends laughing and playing in their backyards. But not me. I had to rush to the farm to plow the field for an hour. Not because I wanted to, but because we were very poor, and my father made sure we all helped. He had one dream, to see us finish school. And to make that happen, we had to work. So while my friends played, I worked the soil, my hands gripping the plow, my heart and mind resisting every moment. I wasn't questioning why. I knew I had to do it, but I hated that I had to. I carried this mindset into adulthood without even knowing it. I showed up, I did my job, I was compliant. But deep down, I wasn't stepping up. I was avoiding responsibility. And for years, I couldn't figure out why success never came my way. For years, I never saw anything wrong with how I handled responsibilities. After all, I did what was expected of me. I wasn't lazy, I wasn't rebellious. But deep down, every extra task felt like a burden. Something I had to do, not something I wanted to do. And without realizing it, this mindset followed me into adulthood. At work, I did what was required, just enough to not get fired. I never volunteered for more. I never looked at challenges as opportunities. I just waited for the day to end so I could go home. And over time, something became clear. I remember early in my career when I worked as an analyst in a manufacturing company. My immediate boss, the department head, trained me to do my tasks. Basic encoding of material usage, manpower, headcounts, and production volume. Every day, I entered the data, did statistical comparisons, and compiled daily, weekly, and monthly reports. It was repetitive but straightforward, and I thought I was doing well. Until one day, the plant manager called me in. He told me I wasn't hired to just encode data. He expected me to analyze it, to find patterns, correlations, and anomalies in the numbers. I later realized he was trying to establish a solid data-driven report to expose past irregularities in the plant. But at that moment, all I could think was, Angulo! This is a mess. I suddenly felt like I was caught in the middle of a tug-of-war between him and my department head. Instead of embracing the challenge, my first instinct was to escape. I started looking for another job, thinking it wasn't worth the stress. Looking back, I see it clearly. This was my pattern. Every time a challenge stretched me beyond what I was comfortable with, I resisted. I treated it as a problem, not an opportunity. And over time, something became obvious. Success was avoiding me. I was never the top performer. I wasn't the one getting promoted because of excellence. The only promotions I got were from staying long enough. I was just an average guy. And it wasn't because I lacked skill or intelligence. It was because I had spent my whole life treating responsibilities as a burden instead of an opportunity. For the longest time, I thought I was just unlucky. That maybe I was just born to be an average person. Never truly excelling, never standing out, never getting ahead. But when I finally stepped back and looked at my life from a wider perspective, I saw the truth. And that truth became undeniable when I compared my life to my wife's. Like me, she was born into extreme poverty. Like me, she had to take on responsibilities as a child. But unlike me, she never resented it. While I was murmuring in silence, wishing I could be out playing, she was wholeheartedly embracing the work given to her. She wasn't just obeying, she was helping out of love. She wasn't just compliant, she was a problem solver. While I was counting the minutes until I could stop working, she was looking for ways to lighten the load of her parents. No one told her to fetch water, gather firewood, or prepare food for their swine. She did it because she knew her mother would have to do it after a long day at the farm. And as she grew older, she kept taking on more, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She saw herself as part of the team, while I saw myself as someone being forced to do work I didn't want to do. That's when I realized this wasn't just about hard work, this was about attitude. She and I came from the same struggle, yet we responded in completely different ways. And looking at where we are today, it's obvious. Her mindset took her farther than mine ever did. Success didn't avoid me by accident. I pushed it away by the way I treated responsibility. I wish I could tell you that after realizing all this, I turned my life around. That I embraced responsibility, worked my way up, and achieved massive success. But the truth is, I didn't. By the time I fully understood my mistake, I was already deep into my career. And because I never built that habit of embracing responsibility, I stayed an average employee, good enough to keep my job, but never enough to stand out. I was never a top performer, never a leader, just there. And now, in my 50s, looking back at my life, I can only imagine how different things could have been if I had fought against my instinct to whine, to resist, to avoid. If I had trained myself to take ownership instead of escape, I could have been someone much greater than who I am today. But this message isn't about me anymore, it's about you. If you find yourself avoiding responsibility, resenting hard work, or feeling like you're always being forced to do things you don't want to do, stop. Catch yourself. Rebuke yourself. Because this is exactly what will keep success from finding you. You still have time to change. You can either let this realization pass by, or you can let it wake you up. It's your choice. But just remember, if you don't fix this now, you might wake up decades later and find yourself in my shoes, looking back at a life that could have been much greater. Success isn't about luck. It's not just about skill. It's about how you respond to responsibility. And if you keep rejecting it, don't be surprised if success keeps rejecting you. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever caught yourself rejecting responsibility, avoiding challenges, or just wishing things were easier instead of getting better? What's one thing you've been resisting that you know you should start embracing? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if this message hit you hard, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. If you found value in this, consider subscribing. We're just getting started. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.